Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video and what would normally be the pre-match chat ahead of the Newcastle versus Brighton game later on today, and we will get onto that, but I had to start off this video talking about the newest internet sensation, Nick Pope. If you didn't see this on Twitter last night, I'm assuming it's probably going to still be going on this morning and the rest of this weekend. It moved over onto Instagram, onto Facebook. It was in the news. It was everywhere. And it all started up by, effectively, Burger King put a poll out. Gherkins versus tomatoes. The Newcastle Twitter account, Toon Polls, who did a fantastic job of this. So well done to them and everybody else who joined in and got involved. They replied to that Burger King poll saying Nick Pope. Loads of Newcastle fans saw this, continued to reply to Burger King saying Nick Pope. Then Burger King replied saying Nick Pope. So really, no actual context, just everyone bigging up Nick Pope. And then McDonald's replied, JD Sports replied, Specsavers replied, everyone replied. It was trending number 1 in the UK. At one point, it was number 10 worldwide of just everyone tweeting Nick Pope. So the Geordie fan base blew up Nick Pope last night. Him himself eventually replied as well, which kind of brought it full circle. Newcastle replied, the owners replied, and I was checking this morning and the amount of images people were creating with Nick Pope wearing a Burger King crown was just hilarious. So, and I'm pretty sure there was a couple of these companies offering Toon Polls a free McDonald's or a free breakfast if we keep a clean sheet later on today. So Nick Pope has got some work to do now to make sure these people are getting their vouchers and free meals. So I'm sure he will be putting in the work this afternoon. So Newcastle travel down to the Amex for the 3 o'clock kickoff against Brighton. It was meant to be boiling today for all those fans who are getting up and getting on trains. Big up to you. Newcastle sold out the away section, as we always do. Spoiler alert, I'm not going down there, unfortunately, this weekend. But big up to all the fans who are. There's train strikes going on. There's all sorts going on at the moment. I know there was very few trains actually heading off today, and the ones that were very expensive. So people were going yesterday. I know Adam went yesterday, and his train cost a fortune as well. So anyone who's gone down, big up. And I'm praying we can come away with a result, because I know I went to Brighton a couple of seasons ago, and it is a very long trip down there. But Newcastle started the season well. We started the season well. We got a win against Nottingham Forest, first game of the season. We'll talk a little bit about Brighton first, because they got a first win of the season as well. They beat Manchester United 2-1. Gross got himself 2 goals in that one, and a great start of the season for them. Graham Potter is a great manager, and I mentioned this already before. I'm looking forward to the Potter versus Howe dynamic today. What tactics will they use? Brighton primarily attacked down the wings. That was kind of their outlet with Trossard. Danny Welbeck up front, he's still kicking around. He had a decent game against them as well. Not a whole lot of possession in that Manchester United game. They really kind of, as I say, not necessarily counter-attack, but it was get the ball, fast play, get moving, down the wings. So I'm actually hoping that we could see Newcastle actually control a lot of the possession today. What's interesting is that we pass through the middle. We use the wings. We obviously utilise St. Max and Almiron, but really we kind of pass through the middle is our way to the front line. They don't. They take it down the wing. So I think we'll control the midfield, and then we're asking Trippier and Target to have a good game today and really try and cut out that wing play. But if we've got all the ball, then that'll kind of hopefully counteract that as well. So it will be interesting to see how we get on, but there's no denying that Brighton are a good side, and Newcastle have a horrible record against Brighton down at the Amex. We haven't beat them in top flight football at the Amex or the Premier League at the Amex. The last time we won down there was that championship game where Atsu kicked the ball off Diarme's heel or ankle and it went top corner. So, we're talking 5 years ago since we won down there, so that's hopefully something that we're going to change. Statistically, it's normally a draw, isn't it? And I think we do need to go down there. I think if we go down there and win, it is a bit of a statement, you know, because I think Brighton are a good side. To go down there to their home turf and get 3 points, I think would be a really good win. So if we did leave with a draw, having won the first game of the season, so 4 points from the first two, I don't think that would be that bad. And as I say, they are a good side. So I am hoping we can go down there and do the business. But should we come away with a draw, I wouldn't say that's a bad result. It's the return of the Dans as well. Dan Boone returning back to Brighton. He got a great reception when they came up here, so I expect him to get one as well. I said this in my video the other day, you know, they sold Cucurella for 50 million. They sold Ben White for 45, 50 million. They sold us Dan Boone for how much? 12 million? You know, I think we did all right out of that one. I know it's obviously he's an older player, it's a little bit different, but what a signing he's been for us. He was towering above the rest in the Nottingham Forest game, and I expect him to do the same today. Obviously, because Brighton are quite nippy up front, he's going to have to be on his toes along with Shaw to make sure that we're cutting that out. But I think defensively we looked so solid in Nottingham Forest. We looked so solid at the end of last season. I know Botman is still dying for his chance to get on the pitch. It could be today. I would possibly suggest not today. But there's no telling who it'll be. I think Eddie Howe will pick whatever he fancies. It's just because Shaw was so good and because it's Dan Boone returning to Brighton. I don't know how he would drop either of them after such a good display in the last game. And then it's the return of the Dans, as I say, because Dan Ashworth will no doubt be down there as well, cheering on the lads. Obviously, he is the director that we took away from Brighton. Eddie Howe was actually asked in his interview, would he be asking either of the two of them a little bit of inside information? And Eddie Howe said, no, not really. He thinks he knows everything he needs to know off what he's seen on the pitch. And Brighton have sold a couple of players. I mentioned Cucurella already. They've also sold Basuma, who they didn't really miss in the Manchester United game. But I think as the season goes on, he will be a loss. Obviously, he's a very good player, but as I've mentioned, I don't think Brighton have got any worries this season. It's interesting to know where they hope to finish this season. You'd imagine it would be a top 10 finish again, if not, because at the start of last season, they were really pushing, potentially even for Europa League. They were playing that well, and it kind of dipped off as the season went on. So we'll have to see how they get on. But in terms of the Newcastle lineup, I expect it to be the same as it was. So let me know your lineups down below. Let me know your predictions down below. The only things that I thought we could potentially change are if Eddie Howe wanted a little bit more security in the midfield, maybe he could look to go from Willock to Longstaff. And if he made that change, I wouldn't be surprised. If he didn't make that change, I wouldn't be surprised. As I've mentioned, if we're hoping to have all the ball, then really we wouldn't need that defensive cover. And the other one was obviously Botman as well. Botman's got a little bit more pace over, I think, Boone and Shaw. Could he potentially look to use him for that pace at the back? It's an option. I would possibly suggest that he won't, but we'll wait and see. And I think the big thing for us today is that we will. I think we will have the ball. I've got some confidence going into this one. I think I'm feeling better than I did the other day. Maybe because it's match day now, it's getting me a little bit excited. But we need to pull the trigger. I think is possibly what I would say for this game, is pull the trigger. We had the 23 shots, 12 on target against Nottingham Forest, and we scored 2 goals. Callum Wilson didn't get enough of the ball. We need to get the ball into Wilson. He's the man we know can put it in the net. So get him the ball. And I think for players like Maxi, like Almiron, who were in the box, you know, Maxi had a header that he missed. He had a shot that he kicked straight at the goalie. Miggy had those 2 balls across the goal that he didn't put in. Pull the trigger. I think we'll have less chances today. So I think when we'll get them, we need to try and get it in the back of the net. So my prediction for this game is 2-1 Newcastle. I've backed the win. 1-1 is probably where my head's saying. But 2-1's where my heart's saying. So I'm going to back the 2 and hopefully it will be a win. Hopefully Nick Pope can keep that clean sheet in fairness and win everyone a few McDonald's meal deals. All right, guys. Thanks for watching as always. I will be back later on for the instant reaction following the game. So be sure to subscribe. Do not miss any future videos. And yeah, let me know your predictions down below. And I'll catch you later.